Alright, so this one caught me off guard. It did. We have a whole bunch of trade rumors and ideas that have been thrown around over the past few days, but this one kind of got me feeling a certain kind of way, and it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows coming out of it. It was mostly just, oh my goodness, really? Okay. So, you've probably noticed by now, but on my Hockey Ultimate team, one of my top players is Keith Tkachuk. I've had his 86 overall Frosted Flakes card since the beginning of the game, and I bought the 94 overall St. Louis Blues All-Stars version of that card back when it came out. He is one of my prized possessions. But when it comes to Keith Tkachuk and the overall impact he has had on the St. Louis Blues organization, maybe you will be quick to point out that yes, he has left a legacy in these towns. For example, Keith Tkachuk has two sons, Matthew and Brady Tkachuk. Matthew, the older one, was born in Arizona, Brady, the younger one, born in St. Louis, but because the dad played in St. Louis, makes sense to see why these guys grew up in Missouri. Which is why now you take a look at Matthew Tkachuk. He's a guy in the Calgary Flames going out there and doing his thing. He put up 43 points in 56 games last season and 61 the year before that in 69 games. And you have this article coming out from none other than stlouistoday.com talking about how if the Calgary Flames are crazy enough to trade Matthew Tkachuk, the St. Louis Blues should make a bold offer. Yeah. It's low-hanging fruit, kind of, is it really? I mean, easy connections right there. Oh, the Blues should go after Matthew Tkachuk, the son of a very good player from the team's past. It makes all too much sense now, doesn't it? So, going over the article here, let's go ahead and read what exactly it is that the writer, Mr. Ben Fredrickson, is saying here about Matthew Tkachuk, a Calgary Flames superstar drafted in the 2016 NHL entry draft. The article opens up by talking about the disappointment that we have seen with the St. Louis Blues so far. After the pandemic hit, we had ourselves two first-round playoff exits from the Blues, one following a flop during a postseason that was salvaged from the pandemic, and another that was undercut by injuries and a deviation from the all-in, hard-nosed style that Craig Berube successfully introduced the team to doing during its championship run. Part of me can't help but wonder what might have been next for the Blues if the pandemic had not so rudely interrupted their ascent. Part of me can't help but wonder if bringing Matthew Tkachuk home to play for the Blues might help reignite what has cooled. Alright, so that's how it's introduced. The idea here is the Blues have really cooled off from where they were back when they were on top of the world in 2019, from the last place team to the best team in the league, Stanley Cup champions carried off the backs of Jordan Binnington, who totally is a very good goaltender, and who didn't just have one good year. This team has cooled off from that, so maybe Matthew Tkachuk is the spark that brings that back. Now keep reading. Matthew, depending on which hockey insider you believe, could be traded. The Flames missed the playoffs and have not been past the first round since before the 23-year-old forward made his NHL debut. Calgary is at a crossroads, and yeah, by the way, don't remind me, the last time the Flames made it past the first round, defeating the Vancouver Canucks 70-point Sedins and Radim Verbata, who got 30 goals that year, but who didn't do anything in the playoffs aside from scoring an empty net goal. Who would have thunk that Lucas Spiza would have been the dagger to ultimately seal that playoff series as well for the Flames, eh? The article pretty much suggests the idea as to whether or not the Calgary Flames would go out there and target a longer-term rebuild. Because you have a team that's in this state of mediocrity, you tried to do all these things in the offseason to get yourselves back up in gear. Chris Tanev, Jacob Markstrom, stealing all the Vancouver Canucks out there, and hopefully getting the best out of Gaudreau and Monahan and Tkachuk and all the other guys. You didn't get the best out of Sam Bennett. You didn't get the best out of a lot of these players. As a result, you finish poorly in the standings, and you're in a position now where you're still getting top draft picks, and you're nowhere near being that contending team that you thought you were going to be after that 2015 playoff run, where you lost in the second round to a pretty good Anaheim Ducks team 4-1. Now, Matthew Tkachuk right now, we said he's 23 years old, but he's making $7 million a season until 2022. He's 6'2", 203 pounds, and we all kind of know the bite that this guy plays with. He's not afraid to go out there and get under your skin. He's not afraid to go out there and aggravate you. It's gotten to a point now where he's got all these antics that apparently the Calgary Flames kind of wanted to dial back on, which isn't really the best thing, I would think, to tell one of your players who is young, boating into this league. and who just plays that way. Hey, go out there and just remove a part of your game that you've had incorporated in your play style pretty much since you were a child. Like, it doesn't really work like that in my opinion, and if Matthew Tkachuk has any form of, let's say, disdain for that idea where his team is telling him, oh, can you just, lay it back, bro? You gotta stop, fighting with people like that. I don't know how I would feel about that, but it is what it is. We've heard the rumors coming out and about, but Matthew Tkachuk is indeed this guy that has faced these sorts of questions within the way he plays and where exactly that could take him in the future with this Flames team. The article actually cites a different piece that we have actually highlighted on the channel as well. Remember we made that video talking about Matthew Tkachuk and whether or not he can go to Ottawa? Hey, this is the piece written in there. It's highlighted in this St. Louis Today piece. With 10 goals and 30 points in 45 games, Tkachuk hasn't provided what he is paid to give Calgary, wrote Ottawa Sun columnist Don Brennan about the former 6th overall pick. As the leader on a team that's 22nd and falling, he seems to be coming up short there too. Trading Tkachuk shouldn't be at the top of the team's to-do list, but if somebody is putting a package on the table for the 23-year-old, the Flames shouldn't hesitate to look inside. It's not like he should be viewed as the same untouchable kid his brother Brady is. Which is why this article brings up the idea of the Blues trading for Tkachuk, even if it would mean selling short on Jordan Kyrou's scoring potential, or dealing the Blues' 16th overall pick, or finding salary cap space to keep Tkachuk long-term. Such sacrifices might be worth it. The rest of the article goes over the writer's own perspective on the Blues and where he sees them going, what they need to do, because we've noted it, man. The Blues have been eliminated in the playoffs 2 times in the first round after being Stanley Cup champions in 2019. The 2020 playoffs were wild. I watched all the highlights the other day because I was just reliving positive Canucks memories. Those are tough to come by, so you have to treasure the ones that you have. And it was just such an easy formula for Vancouver. St. Louis was playing with no bite. They didn't really care about being back in the playoffs, especially in that bubble environment. You had the Canucks going out there, doing their thing, just going blocker side on Jordan Binnington the entire series, and it was working. Then you had Jake Allen come in, he wins you 2 games, you get back in it, Vancouver gets the 3-2 lead, and then you have Binnington coming back for game number 6. And that's when Canucks fans realized, oh, Binnington's in? Let's just go blocker side. And they did it, and it worked. And just like that, the Blues are eliminated out of the 2020 bubble as the reigning Stanley Cup champions. What happened the next year? Hey, they're one of the worst teams in the division. They're the 4th seed right there. They play Colorado. Ryan O'Reilly's like, yeah, I think we can go out there and we're gonna win. And then they get swept. Sure, they kind of got goalied a little bit at the beginning, but they still lost 4-0. Sometimes sweeps can be really close, even though they might be 4-0 wins. They might not seem like that if you actually watch the games. But towards the end, man, St. Louis just really cracked down. It wasn't the same team that was going out there winning championships. Heck, it wasn't even the same team that was out there beating Vancouver twice in a row to commandingly tie up that series in the bubble last year. So, Tkachuk, eh? Is that the guy you want to go out there and acquire for this team to give you that spark? The article mentions Jordan Kyrou as a potential trade piece, selling short on his long-term potential. Hey, guess what? Jordan Kyrou is also 23 years old. Matthew Tkachuk is 23, drafted in 2016. Kyrou was drafted in 2016 as well, about 29 picks after Matthew Tkachuk. Kyrou had 35 points in 55 games played this season, so Tkachuk is kind of the better player, but Kyrou is making significantly less. He actually has a contract negotiation process that he has to go through right now, so he is technically not under contract. So, if you're going out there saying, okay, Jordan Kyrou and maybe the 17th overall pick, which the Blues had in the draft because they're the worst team to qualify for the playoffs, so they're out here with the best pick among the playoff teams, 17th overall in Kyrou for Tkachuk? Nah, not seeing it right there. The article suggests maybe adding on another piece to balance out the salary, and that could also be a pretty interesting and overall valuable asset as well. But come on, Matthew Tkachuk's making $7 million. Who's going to go out there and fulfill any of those conversations? Tarasenko's making 7.5, but you're not trading Tarasenko, Kyrou, and a first for Tkachuk. O'Reilly, 7.5, same thing with him. Braden Schen's at 6.5, but he's got that until 2028, and he's 29 years old already. That contract is going to take him until he is, gosh darn, 36. And then on the blue line, you have all your guys, Falk, Krug, 6.5 each, Parayko's at 5.5, maybe it's one of these defenders, maybe it's Jordan Binnington, who knows? I just don't kind of see a fit here in terms of the overall trade. I don't think the Blues have the proper assets to make the trade. Like, sure, you could just say, okay, let's just load up on all this stuff and send it over. Maybe they'll say yes, but realistically speaking, I don't see a fit here wherein the sides could be equal. The most likely scenario here, just from what I'm seeing, is a big St. Louis Blues loss because they overpaid. Unless the negotiation rights to Kyrou, an X amount of dollar player like the $4 million David Perron, whose contract expires next season, and the 17th overall pick. Is that enough for Tkachuk? I don't know. You tell me in the comments what you think. Let me know what you think in general, though, about this entire idea, the trade, Matthew Tkachuk to St. Louis following the footsteps of his dad. I'll leave a link in the description to the article that we pulled from, so go ahead and read that on St. Louis Today. I hope you enjoyed this video, Trolls 99, and bye.